Shuangwen+Female Strong+No male Lead+No CP Qiao Yun suffered a tragic death in her past life, and after being reborn, she will never let it go bad. Exercising physical fitness, buying a RV, and most importantly, crazily hoarding supplies. Can the water system ability actually act as a faucet in the team? What energy is hidden in the jade bracelet left by my mother? Keywords of the novel. Reborn in the Apocalypse, I hoard goods to support my teammates without pop-ups. Reborn in the Apocalypse, I hoard goods to support my teammates. Download the complete TXT collection, Reborn in the Apocalypse, I hoard goods to support my teammates. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth. In the third year of the end of 2030, H City's desert high base. After 2 months of harsh winter and heavy snowfall, the Mogao base finally welcomed its second spring. Due to the population explosion in the base, the number of houses was insufficient. Residents without combat effectiveness in the base responded to the call and spontaneously went to build houses in exchange for some meager points to survive. Due to the colder winters in the post-apocalyptic era compared to before, the entire 30-kilometer road surface of the base was buried in heavy snow, making it impossible for people and vehicles to enter and exit the base. At present, spring is warm and flowers are blooming, and the snow is melting away. In order to prevent a large amount of accumulated water caused by the melting of the snow, all the zombies will rush towards the base. The major teams of Al-Qaeda go out during the day to hunt zombies and collect supplies, and of course, their income is also considerable. Qiao Yun's Flying Eagle squad is also out hunting zombies, and her boyfriend serves as the team leader. Everyone was hiding inside an abandoned shopping mall building, and the metal-powered beings changed the iron gate structure to reinforce the gate. Everyone sat together to repair their condition. Qiao Yun was panting heavily on the side. She hadn't exercised so vigorously all winter, and now she felt like her throat was on fire. She used her powers to make a bubble of water in her palm and drank it all in one gulp. The interior of the mall is not completely safe, and there are still some zombies in a dormant state in the distance. Once they feel the human aura, they will immediately launch an attack. A zombie roar echoed behind Qiao Yun, who instinctively turned around and met the zombie's rotten face. She exclaimed in surprise, "Ah!" This scream was enough to startle the nearby dormant zombies. By the time Qiao Yun crawled past her boyfriend Qin Mian, the distant zombies had already spotted the group rushing towards her. Qin Mian, like Qiao Yun, despised the situation and didn't say much now. He commanded his team to launch a counterattack. There are a large number of zombies, and many zombies still on the second floor have also fallen from the railing upon hearing the sound, stabilizing their bodies and launching attacks on the Flying Eagle squad. Due to the gate being blocked by teammates and the previous high energy consumption of everyone, the Flying Eagle team clearly had a disadvantage and suffered successive defeats. Finally, the team could only retreat to a safe passage and had no choice but to move towards the unknown second floor. Qiao Yun, who was left at the end of the team, only felt a pain in her heel. When she turned around, she realized that her ankle had been tightly grabbed by a zombie, and her sharp, yellowed nails were deeply ingrained in the flesh, with blood constantly gushing out. Qin Mian noticed this situation and did not turn back. He shook off Qiao Yun's hand holding onto his sleeve, protecting his other teammates and continuing towards the second floor. The zombie behind is still approaching, and Qiao Yun is being bitten by the zombie one by one. She is lying on the ground, feeling very painful, really painful. She hates herself for being useless, why she doesn't master more combat skills, why she has to rely on others to survive. If only she could do it again, she must live well and rely on herself. My gaze gradually dissipated, as if a layer of white mist had covered my eyes. A strong light lit up, and the jade bracelet left by my mother on my wrist began to heat up, as if I was about to burn through my wrist. My consciousness gradually blurred until I finally closed my eyes. Qiao Yun didn't expect to open her eyes again. She sat in bed, with the 24-degree air conditioning blowing directly on her body, staring blankly at the room. White wall, photo with mom, light green curtains. Qiao Yun was stunned. Isn't she already dead in the mouth of the zombie, with no residue left? Why can I wake up from the bedroom intact now? But the sad mood still lingers in the chest, with the pain of being bitten on the limbs and body. Is this a dream? Still is it? Rebirth. Qiao Yun lifted the blanket and got out of bed, regardless of whether she was wearing shoes or not. She walked barefoot to the window, pulled open the curtains, and looked out. What catches the eye is a clear blue sky, vast clouds, and the bustling streets downstairs. The lush green grass, warm and brilliant sunshine, and a gentle breeze with heat waves blow against Qiao Yun's cheeks. Who would have thought that in the future, this most ordinary scene would be replaced by a suppressed dark red sky and a street full of decay? Striving to soothe the pounding heart, Qiao Yun took deep breaths time and time again. Gradually adjusting her heart rate to normal, she glanced at the computer placed on the bedside table. Moving the mouse made the screen light up. It is now 2:35 p.m. on May 31, 2027, 1 month before the zombie outbreak. She greedily breathed in the air of this world, and in a daze, she remembered the moment when she died. Surrounded by the stench, the zombie fiercely tore at her body, and Qin Mian's indifferent expression at the last moment of her life. Her heart was fiercely stabbed, tears couldn't be controlled and ran down her fair cheeks. She hated her incompetence and weakness in the previous life. If I could be brave enough, I wouldn't be despised by others for being a drag on oil. Those who work at the base can only recharge the number of people building houses in exchange for meager points, and in the end, I was abandoned by my boyfriend and died a tragic death. Qiao Yun let out a long sigh, took off her dirty clothes soaked in sweat, turned around, and walked into the bathroom, rinsing her body with water over and over again. She hasn't taken a good shower for a long time since the zombie outbreak. This is her first day of rebirth, with a month left to prepare her for the cruel end of the world. In her previous life, she did not have enough food, so she could only use her abilities to exchange a few bites of food with Qin Mian and a group of unreasonable men. In this life, she will never let herself be so aggrieved. The current month is enough for her to improve her abilities, and the remaining time can be used to collect materials. After washing, Qiao Yun changed into a clean set of clothes and walked out of the bathroom, standing in the center of the bedroom, indifferent to the group photo on the table. The group photo is of two women, one of whom is an adult woman. She has short and capable hair, and her eyes exude countless ambitions. She is dressed in a white qipao, with patterns embroidered with blue silk threads that give this plain brocade outfit a touch of color. Standing beside an adult woman is a girl holding a doll, with short hair tied in a pair of ponytails. She doesn't look at the camera, but her gaze is focused on the adult woman. This half-year-old child is Qiao Yun, and the adult woman next to her is her mother Qiao Hong. Qiao Yun was born into a single-parent family and raised by her mother Qiao Hong. Qiao Hong is a highly ambitious woman who played a crucial role in the development of H City's tourism industry. However, she died in an accident when Qiao Yun was 18 years old. All that was left for Qiao Yun was his property and a jade bracelet. It is precisely because of her mother's excellent financial resources that Qiao Yun's upbringing environment can be so superior. Qiao Hong dotes on Qiao Yun even more, from the shuttle bus to the 3 meals a day arranged by the nutritionist. She, who had never suffered in her previous life, was at a loss in the face of a sudden outbreak of zombie virus. In that post-apocalyptic environment, no matter how much money she had, what was the use? In an era that relies on strength and courage, Qiao Yun will naturally be eliminated. Qiao Yun put on her shoes and socks and picked up her fitness bag. The purpose of this trip is to find a suitable shelter, and her next goal is to stock up on supplies. 17 has something to say. This article has no male lead, no CP, and the female lead is purely career-oriented. The pace is slow and the length is long. If you don't like it, you can retreat. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Shelter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Shelter. The taxi drove to the southwest suburbs of H City, which had not been fully developed, had a weak commercial atmosphere, and had fewer people compared to the city center. The road leaving H City is no more than 3 kilometers away from this place, making it the best choice for renovating a shelter. Looking around, there are mostly bungalows for rent, but they are too far from the city center and inconvenient for living and transportation, resulting in most bungalows being uninhabited. Qiao Yun plans to rent a relatively large bungalow so that she can save time renting a warehouse and store all the supplies in the shelter. She walked along a small road until she saw a unique 2-story villa, with clean white walls that contrasted sharply with the surrounding ordinary bungalows. Approaching the small villa, I indeed found a rental sign on the wooden door of the villa that was about to be blown off by the wind. Qiao Yun immediately dialed the phone number on the rental revelation, only to find out that the owner of this small villa was a married couple living in it. However, her wife, who had a red face and poor fortune, passed away early, and her husband did not want to live in this small house carrying various memories, so she chose to rent it out. Qiao Yun did not negotiate with the landlord and happily rented these 2-story villas. The landlord said to ask Qiao Yun to wait for a moment. He will soon come back from the city center to sign the contract for handover, and let Qiao Yun stroll around nearby to familiarize herself with the environment. After hanging up the phone, Qiao Yun decided to take a walk around the villa, take a look at the surrounding environment, and think about how to proceed with the next shelter renovation. The villa comes with a small garden, which is neither big nor small, and the fence around it is just right up to Qiao Yun's crotch. For Qiao Yun, who is 158 years old, such fences are already considered short. In the future, if we want to make use of the garden, we may need to change the fences to iron and increase their height. The villa is said to have 2 floors, but looking up from bottom to top, one can still see the prototype of a glass flower house, so to be precise, the space that can be used in this villa is 3 floors. Qiao Yun thought to herself that this time she really picked up the treasure. After walking around, I walked around to the front of the villa and looked around. There were not many houses with a lively atmosphere, but most of them were elderly people alone at home. Thinking of the zombie crisis that would erupt in a month, and the streets littered with corpses overnight, Qiao Yun couldn't help but sigh. She doesn't intend to take in the nearby residents, as a mature team values strength and obedience the most. She wants to form her own survival team, rely on her own abilities to survive in the apocalypse, and protect important people. But looking at the elderly people cooling off under the shade of the trees, Qiao Yun felt a hint of sourness in her heart. However, she had personally experienced the cruelty of the apocalypse. In a world where the fittest eat the fittest, the weak can only lose their lives or hang their lives to survive. While sighing, Qiao Yun's phone received a message from Qin Mian. "Qiao Yun, what are you doing? Why didn't you reply to my message?" In fact, Qiao Yun saw the message sent by Qin Mian, because the psychological shadow left by him in her past life was one of the reasons, but she had too much to do and had no time to reply. Now that she was free, Qiao Yun replied briefly to Qin Mian, "I'm busy looking at the house and don't have time to check my phone." After replying, I stuffed my phone into my pants pocket. A black sedan was parked in front of the villa, and the person walking down was a muscular young man with a wheat skin color. He was wearing a black hurdled vest with some sweat stains on his body, clearly looking like he had just finished his work. Qiao Yun was a social anxiety, so the two of them looked at each other. After a brief silence, the man spoke up first and said, "Hello big girl, my name is Tong Tianhui. What are you planning on renting this house for? It's a bit risky to live alone." Qiao Yun replied in response, "I plan to rent a house for a short period of time and put some miscellaneous items away. Then you'll make a profit. The price of our house with this condition is already high. And our storage space is also very large. Don't underestimate it, it looks like there are only 2 floors on the outside, but in fact, there are 2 basement floors hidden underneath. Tong Tianhui's northeastern tone made Qiao Yun laugh uncontrollably. Qiao Yun smiled and squinted her eyes. That's great. I plan to move in tomorrow. If the contract is okay, I'll sign it. Tong Tianhui saw that Qiao Yun didn't plan to chat much, so he pulled out 2 messy contracts folded from his crossbody bag and said, "You take a look first. If there's no problem, we'll sign the contract and pay the money." Qiao Yun took the contract and didn't read it much. She just glanced at it briefly before signing. "That's it. I'll transfer the money now. How will I make the payment?" "So refreshing, aren't you afraid of me pitying you?" Tong Tianhui didn't see such a refreshing buyer for the first time, but it was different from buying and selling small items in the second-hand trading market. This is just renting a house. After speaking, Tong Tianhui took out a neutral pen without a cap from his bag and handed it to Qiao Yun. "I need it urgently," Qiao Yun said, taking the pen, signing, and returning it in one go. Tong Tianhui saw that Qiao Yun's attitude was not very good and he said something, "You can scan me. Pay 2 for 1, a total of 15,000. After a simple transaction, Tong Tianhui took out a string of keys from his pocket and removed the woolen doll that was originally hanging from the keyring. "This is the key, just one, don't lose it," he said. "Okay, thank you." Qiao Yun took the key and didn't intend to chat much. She walked straight to the door, inserted the key into the lock, and opened it. "Okay, then I'll leave first. If you have any questions, feel free to call me anytime. You're satisfied with the after-sales package?" Tong Tianhui shouted at Qiao Yun's back, and saw no response before driving away. Qiao Yun walked into the house, which was cleaned very clean, and there was no dust on the corners. It seemed that Tong Tianhui often came back to clean up. The spotless environment makes Qiao Yun very comfortable. There are only simple furniture, sofas, coffee tables, and side cabinets in the room, but that's enough. At least you don't have to spend time purchasing furniture. Qiao Yun's biggest concern is not furniture, but the basement that Tong Tianhui mentioned earlier. She wandered around the room like a headless fly and did not find the entrance to the basement. She turned around several times until she found a very deep hidden door next to the stairs leading to the second floor. The color of the door was almost the same as the wall, no wonder Qiao Yun didn't notice it before. Qiao Yun pushed open the invisible door, and a staircase meandered down. She pressed the switch on the wall, and in an instant, her vision became bright. This is different from Qiao Yun's impression of the basement. In her impression, the basement should be the same as in horror movies, with damaged stone stairs, uneven walls, and a strong musty smell. The scene before Qiao Yun was taken aback. Unlike the terrifying scene she had imagined, what caught her eye were the smooth white walls, and the wooden stairs were painted clean without any sense of horror. Qiao Yun walked down the stairs, and there was a large space on the basement level. There was not much inside, only a few chairs covered with plastic film, and nothing else. If we put up a pile of iron shelves here and make it into a warehouse, it should be able to store a lot of materials, Qiao Yun thought to herself. She continued to walk down the stairs, and the space on the second underground floor was noticeably smaller than that on the first floor, but it was also large enough to accommodate several refrigerators for use as cold storage rooms. Qiao Yun returned to the ground floor and went up the stairs to the second floor. There are 3 bedrooms and a study on the second floor, which is completely enough for a small team to live in. The furniture is not complete, except for the master bedroom which has standard furniture, all other rooms are empty. There isn't much to look at on the second floor, just add furniture when the time comes. So Qiao Yun walked up to the top floor. This is a glass-topped garden, but it seems that the owner of the garden has left the world before buying the seeds. There are only a few empty flower pots in the garden. When the glass roof is removed and solar panels and water storage devices are installed, the water and electricity problems of the shelter will be solved. Qiao Yun thought so. Standing on the top floor, gazing around and looking at the elderly people enjoying the shade under the trees, Qiao Yun immediately felt a sense of relief. She finally took the first step. She is no longer the timid Qiao Yun she used to be, but now she can survive on her own. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Cen Gui. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Cen Gui. Qiao Yun was very satisfied with this villa. When she was planning to leave the villa and go to the furniture city to choose suitable furniture and appliances, she was thinking about how to renovate the garden when she was interrupted by a phone call from Qin Mian. After hesitating for a moment, Qiao Yun pressed the answer button and said, "What's up? I'm a bit busy now. Why suddenly want to rent a house? Is something wrong? Do you need my help?" Qin Mian's gentle voice came from the receiver. How long has it been since Qiao Yun realized Qin Mian's concerned attitude? About a year. Or even longer. Qiao Yun's thoughts suddenly drifted away, recalling the bits and pieces of her and Qin Mian. Qin Mian and Qiao Yun were together in high school, and Qin Mian gave up her desired school for love and went to the same university as Qiao Yun. Although they each have pursuers, they never act out of line for each other. In the eyes of others, they are a model couple. What could have been happiness until old age, the sudden zombie virus shattered this once indestructible love. Or it may be due to Qiao Yun's cowardly personality in her past life, and there is also suspicion of outsiders interfering. For example, Zhou Qinqin, who often reveals Qiao's short rhyme, is often mentioned. After Zhou Qinqin joined the team, Qin Mian's attitude towards Qiao Yun underwent a significant 180-degree change. The tenderness and deep affection that once faced Qiao Yun shifted to Zhou Qinqin. Zhou Qinqin is a brave woman with healing abilities. She is not afraid of zombie attacks at all, and the scene of wielding a knife straight into her hand, starting and falling is exactly what Qiao Yun envies. But Zhou Qinqin, who was decisive and brave when hunting zombies outside, was secretly a small playwright who even weighed a battle bag. His beautiful appearance and pitiful coquettishness captured the hearts of many men. Perhaps because of this cute contrast, other members of the team also showed great care for her, including Qin Mian. Qiao Yun, who was ineffective in the team, saw all of this and had several arguments with Qin Mian. Qin Mian didn't even admit to having an affair with Zhou Qinqin, but his actions proved everything. Qiao Yun, who had no survival ability, could not tear apart her face and argue with Qin Mian, so she had to swallow her anger. Watching these dog men and women in front of each other, you're talking nonsense. Hello. Hello. Qiao Yun, are you listening? Qin Mian's shout pulled Qiao Yun's thoughts back. I don't need any help from you. Everything is fine on my end. It's nothing, I'll hang up first. Qiao Yun casually said to Qin Mian before hanging up the phone. Suddenly, Qiao Yun's cold attitude and inexplicable behavior of hanging up the phone left Qin Mian puzzled. She then turned from confusion to boredom and stuffed her phone into her pocket. Qin Mian shook her head at Zhou Qinqin, who cast a puzzled gaze beside her. Qin Mian, what's wrong? Isn't Qiao Yun coming? It's a pity, I've already bought tickets. Then we can only watch this movie together. Qin Mian pulled her hand away and walked towards the exit of the shopping mall on her own. I'm sorry, Xiao Qin, I'll go back first. You can call someone else to accompany you in the movie, she said. Zhou Qinqin looked at Qin Mian's back as he left, and at the 3 movie tickets in his hand, he couldn't help but feel angry. Rub the tickets into pieces and tear them apart, then throw them into the trash can. Leaving the mall through another exit. Qin Mian's phone call clearly affected Qiao Yun's mentality and also lost the desire to go to the furniture city. Upon second thought, I didn't plan to stay in the shelter for a long time, just to make a transition for my team. After everyone mastered the skills to deal with zombies, I still had to leave the shelter and go to the base to survive. So Qiao Yun believes that furniture procurement is done online, and food reserves can start in the first half of the month before the zombie outbreak. If food is stored too early, it can also spoil. After all, the shelf life is there. The focus now should be on finding suitable teammates. Cen Gui, Qiao Yun's only good sister after the zombie outbreak in the previous generation, has no news. This time, she decided to protect her. Do whatever you say. Qiao Yun called an online ride-hailing service to go directly to Cen Gui's home. Qiao Yun and Cen Gui had such a good relationship that they had each other's keys to their homes, so she directly opened the door to Cen Gui's home. Cen Gui was sitting at the dining table, huddled up and fiddling with his phone. When Qiao Yun opened the door and walked in, he slowly stood up and said, "Here we go." Seeing Qiao Yun's solemn expression as if she had something to say, Cen Gui took a glass of water and handed it to Qiao Yun, gesturing for someone to sit down and say slowly, "Sit down." Qiao Yun took the water and sat opposite Cen Gui. Gui, what I'm going to say next will shock you, but it's all true," she said. Cen Gui looked at Qiao Yun's serious appearance and raised his eyebrows to signal someone to continue speaking. 1 month later, the Earth will be hit by a meteorite carrying a virus, and the world will erupt with a large zombie virus. Qiao Yun stared into Cen Gui's eyes, hoping to use her sincere gaze to gain trust. Cen Gui asked expressionlessly, "How did you know about these things? Did someone tell you through a dream?" Facing Cen Gui's questioning, Qiao Yun did not feel unhappy. It would be terrifying if she had unconditional trust. Qiao Yun did not answer Cen Gui's words, but continued on her own. After the zombie outbreak, humans were not completely crushed. There were many supernatural beings on Earth. What I awakened was the water system's supernatural ability. Cen Gui did not feel angry at Qiao Yun's disregard for her problem, but instead listened quietly as Qiao Yun recounted her past life, from the zombie outbreak to the Flying Eagle Squad, to Qiao Yun's final death. Qiao Yun finished speaking a lot in one breath, feeling her throat very dry. She picked up a water glass and took a big gulp, but unexpectedly, she drank too quickly and sprayed it out. Cen Gui saw Qiao Yun's embarrassed face and shook his head helplessly. He turned around and walked into the kitchen, holding a cloth and returning to the dining table. He wiped away the water stains on the table and slowly opened his lips. "What you mean is, after you die, you travel back to before the zombie outbreak, which is now. Right?" Qiao Yun saw that Cen Gui had no suspicion at the moment, and her eyes lit up. "More accurately, it's rebirth, so Gui, you will believe me, right?" "Well, I believe you. So what do you plan to do?" Cen Gui actually doesn't believe what Qiao Yun said, only thinks that this woman should have burned her brain, but she will definitely respect what Qiao Yun wants to do. "I plan to go to the gym every day to exercise my physical fitness. In addition, I rented a villa in the suburbs and will go online tonight to pick up some furniture and appliances. The rest is just cars and supplies. If it's water, there's no need to worry at all. I will awaken my water system abilities the day after the zombie outbreak, and it's enough for normal life." Seeing Cen Gui willing to continue the conversation, Qiao Yun talked incessantly about her future plans. "Then I need to form my own team, but I don't have enough teammates yet. For now, only you and me are available. These can be found slowly later. I think the team doesn't need many people, but the quality must be high." Cen Gui listened to the chatter of the person in front of him with his chin resting on his cheek. He thought of something and raised his hand to interrupt. "So Qin Mian, what do you plan to do?" Cen Gui had long been displeased with Qin Mian, although in front of outsiders, he showed great care and obedience to Qiao Yun, portraying her as a father-like boyfriend. But behind the scenes, there was an ambiguous relationship with Zhou Qin, which even Cen Gui noticed. Due to Qiao Yun's love brain, she was reluctant to reveal it, afraid of making the young lady unhappy. "Qin Mian, I have no plans to continue developing with him. Although he will become a wind-type third-level superpower that various teams are eager for in the future, I have no plans to have any interaction with him. Qiao Yun gradually understood when telling Cen Gui the story of his past life. Even if she has the ability to face zombies and become an independent woman in this life, it cannot change the essence of Qin Mian's flower heart. Facing scumbags, it's better to avoid as far as possible. If you can't avoid them in the future, deal with them. After hearing the answer he wanted, Cen Gui nodded satisfied and reached out to touch Qiao Yun's dark hair. That's right, he said. Qiao Yun attached Cen Gui's hand and said, I only remembered when you touched it. My long hair is too inconvenient. I need to find time to cut it off. Cen Gui looked at Qiao Yun's buttocks full of long hair. Since Cen Gui met Qiao Yun, she has had a long and flowing hairstyle, agile eyes, fair and translucent skin, a doll face, and a pure and charming combination of dark and dense hair. I even plan to cut my hair. Is this child planning to take it seriously? Cen Gui thought to himself. Okay, it's cool even after cutting it in summer. Cen Gui doted on Qiao Yun's face and pinched it. Short hair looks good too. Qiao Yun suddenly remembered something, opening her mouth to speak but unable to speak. What do you want to say? Cen Gui asked when he saw Qiao Yun's sudden loss. Do you think my brain is burned out and I'm just playing games with you? Qiao Yun felt displeased when she saw that Cen Gui had no objection to what she said to her. Cen Gui closed his eyes and let out a light sigh. He opened his eyes and stared at the person in front of him. What I said earlier was not convincing enough. But if it's what you said, then I completely trust you. She was certainly not sure if what Qiao Yun said was true or false. A zombie virus outbreak would occur in a month, and the city she lived in would become a hell on earth. If it were normal people, they would not believe such words. But the speaker is Qiao Yun, who is her only friend. She should have full trust. After listening to Cen Gui's touching words, Qiao Yun felt a sour nose and all the grievances surged in her heart. All the sad emotions of the previous life erupted at this moment. She pounced into Cen Gui's arms and sobbed silently. Cen Gui patted her thighs, indicating that Qiao Yun was lying on her lap. Seeing someone obediently lying down, Cen Gui raised the corner of his mouth in satisfaction and said, What about me? Why didn't you talk about me? Upon hearing the question raised by Cen Gui, Qiao Yun was stunned for a few seconds before pondering and speaking up. After the zombie outbreak in my previous life, I met our friends and classmates and asked them about your whereabouts, but there were no results. Cen Gui frowned and followed Qiao Yun's hair, then raised the corner of his mouth and said, So Qiao Yun wants to protect me this time, right? Qiao Yun spoke slowly and said, Neither you nor I in our past life can predict the disasters that will happen in the future, but this time we are all prepared. I will not let the past happen again. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Fitness Coach. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Fitness Coach. Qiao Yun spoke sincerely, and Cen Gui nodded. If there is anything you need my help with, feel free to come to me. Cen Gui's parents were engaged in business abroad in their early years. When Cen Gui was in elementary school, he passed away and was raised by his grandfather. My grandfather also left her last year. Most likely due to the same experiences, Cen Gui and Qiao Yun hit it off immediately, and it can be said that they talked about everything. Qiao Yun, who had been pampered since childhood, aroused Cen Gui's strong desire for protection. What needs to be done is to renovate the shelter. In terms of building materials, I will arrange it tonight. Gui, if you have anything you want to bring with you, just pack it up first. Once the shelter is renovated, let's move in. Qiao Yun lay on Cen Gui's lap, fiddling with her phone, browsing through a certain area in search of suitable appliances. Okay, it's getting late too. Do you want to stay overnight? Cen Gui turned his head and looked at the clock on the wall. It was already 6 o'clock in the evening, and the night outside the window was getting darker. Qiao Yun sat up straight and said, I'll go back and pack my things first, and also get a haircut. Cen Gui stood up, turned around, and walked into the bathroom. After a while, he took out a face towel soaked in water and said, "Wipe your face before leaving. Do you feel uncomfortable crying?" Taking the washcloth, she wiped away the dry tears on her face and then threw it into the trash can. Qiao Yun picked up her backpack and walked towards the door, looking back at Cen Gui's smiling face. "Promise me to live together." "Okay." Leaving Cen Gui's home, Qiao Yun strolled around the entrance of the community, searching for a relatively formal-looking hair salon. She didn't want to live on Dora's head. A hair salon called Paris Hairdressing caught Qiao Yun's attention. There was no rustic decoration or luxurious high-end decoration, and the simple and generous decoration deeply touched her heart. Without any hesitation, Qiao Yun went straight into the store and sat down. "Cut it short, a little below the earlobe, don't buckle it inside, just straighten it," Qiao Yun expressed her request to the barber. The barber looked around Qiao Yun and said, "Cut it so short. Are you willing, girl?" "Cut." Seeing Qiao Yun's decisive appearance, the barber had to shut his mouth and work diligently. As the barber raised and lowered the scissors, with a single operation, strands of green hair fell to the ground. Looking at Qiao Yun again, she had completely transformed herself. Looking at the clean and neat short hair in the mirror, Qiao Yun couldn't help but sigh, realizing that her short hair would be so handsome. Short hair that is almost ear length, thick eyebrows and deep eyes, a three-dimensional small upturned nose, petal-like thin lips slightly open and close, exuding a heroic charm but not lacking in charm. She, who used to always have a pure appearance, completely disappeared, and was replaced by Qiao Yun, who exuded an aura of no strangers entering. Qiao Yun, who walked out of the barber shop, couldn't help taking a picture of herself and gave it to Cen Gui to share her new look with her sisters. "It looks good," Cen Gui said almost instantly. I took a taxi back home. Looking at the empty house, Qiao Yun felt extremely disappointed. Although she had already walked out of the grief of her mother's passing, every time she opened the door exhausted. There is no fragrant food at home, no mother sitting in front of the TV eating fruits, always feeling empty in her heart. Now is not the time for sadness either. Qiao Yun took a deep breath, took a shower, and went back to bed to sleep soundly. The next day, Qiao Yun was woken up by an alarm clock. After a brief wash, she changed her clothes and was about to go out. In the apocalypse, physical strength is a crucial and necessary ability, and Qiao Yun plans to spend some time every day soaking in the gym to exercise her delicate physique. She walked out of the community gate and looked up at the sky. The strong sunlight made Qiao Yun squint her eyes and casually called a taxi to the gym. This is the largest commercial center in H City, and the gym is located in the top corner of the mall. My mother enjoyed exercising here before she passed away, with a good environment and complete equipment, friendly coaches, and complete facilities. At the entrance of the gym stands a notice board. Recharging an 8,000 yuan annual card will give you 2 professional coaching sessions per week as a gift. Although the recharge activity may seem cost-effective, Qiao Yun doesn't want to apply for a card during this trip. Although she has money, she shouldn't be so extravagant and wasteful. After all, there is only 1 month left until the zombie outbreak. So she only plans to pay on a per-use basis, and today she will exercise her physical fitness and play on the treadmill before getting ready to run. After all, hoarding supplies is also a very important task. Currently, we have not found a suitable shelter and warehouse, and we cannot spend all our time exercising. After jogging on the treadmill for half an hour, Qiao Yun was already sweating profusely after a simple exercise. Her calves were so sore that Qiao Yun sat down on a nearby chair, taking big sips of water. "Girl, drinking so much water after exercise is not suitable as it can stimulate the stomach and intestines." A familiar face approached. That person is the landlord Tong Tianhui whom the tenant met yesterday. Qiao Yun looked up at Tong Tianhui, stopped drinking water, tightened the bottle cap, and said, "I don't exercise much and I'm not very familiar with these things. Thank you for your reminder." Tong Tianhui sits down next to Qiao Yun. He seems to be a newcomer. He doesn't have sweat after exercise, but he also exudes a light smell of cedar perfume, which is the super cedar of bride. I am the coach here, and you look unfamiliar. Are you here for the first time? The man asked. Well, it's my first time here. My physical fitness is too poor and I want to exercise. Qiao Yun also answered the question honestly. Tong Tianhui took out his business card and handed it to Qiao Yun. I still have some free time to schedule your classes. If you need it, you can contact me. Qiao Yun politely took the business card and smiled at Tong Tianhui, saying, I don't practice much each time and don't really need a coach. But we can make friends. My name is Qiao Yun, and there are trees in the south, with the rhyme of the sound. Tong Tianhui didn't feel embarrassed by being rejected, but smiled and said, I know your name is Qiao Yun. I saw it on the contract. I used to be in the gym when I wasn't in class, so if you have any problems in the future, you can always come to me. I have something else to do next, I'll leave first. See you next time. Qiao Yun stood up and put the towel and kettle into her fitness bag, then entered the shower room. After a simple rinse, Qiao Yun changed into clean clothes and left the gym. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Storage of materials. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Storage of materials. After leaving the gym, Qiao Yun used a ride-hailing app to take a taxi. The things bought in Modong last night will only be delivered to the villa in the afternoon, so now Qiao Yun plans to search for some seeds first. Seeds that can grow in harsh environments and satisfy hunger with their fruits. Qiao Yun arrived at a flower and bird market, and as soon as she walked into the flower and bird street, she saw a familiar figure. Qiao Yun knew that person, who played the most crucial role in a regional recovery war in the desert base during the apocalypse. Lu Ruxu. Lu Ruxu is a dual superpower, possessing both wood and fire abilities. She can attack, defend, and move freely in battles. The key is still a beautiful woman. I don't know how many teams are competing to get her. But her ending was not as good as imagined. After the successful conclusion of the regional offensive and defense war, Lu Ruxu lost news. Rumors have it that she was abducted by other bases, and some say she was locked up as an experimental subject. As for what the truth is, it is unknown. Such a powerful person would definitely be a good choice if he were to join a small team. Qiao Yun thought this way, following behind the person and planning to find an opportunity to get close. In one turn, Qiao Yun lost the person. Looking around, one hand coldly rested on Qiao Yun's shoulder. Qiao Jie, it's really you. Qiao Yun turned around and saw a man with a tiger-like head and a tiger-like brain, and it was her class monitor. Zhao Liang. I didn't even recognize you, why did you cut your hair? Zhao Liang looked up and down at Qiao Yun. I'll buy some seeds. Qiao Yun was still searching for Lu Ruxu's figure everywhere. There was no need to plan on saying anything more to Zhao Liang. Buy seeds. My family buys seeds, come and take a look. Zhao Liang pulled Qiao Yun's wrist and entered his own store. This store is not big, but the things are arranged neatly, with an orderly appearance. What seeds do you want to buy? Zhao Liang stood in front of the shelf, holding his arms and looking like a boss. Qiao Yun looked carefully at the unlabeled seeds on the shelf and made a mistake. She didn't recognize any of them. I want to buy some good seeds with short growth cycles that can still be eaten. Qiao Yun picked up a bag of seeds and weighed them. What kind of seeds are these? What you're holding is a sunflower. Zhao Liang pointed to what Qiao Yun was holding and turned around to search on the shelf. I didn't know you still have this hobby. Like cucumber and lettuce with short growth cycles, these are all pretty good. Zhao Liang took a bunch of bags from the shelf and held them on his chest. If you think it's okay, just wrap it up for me and make more. Then, even the corn and potato seeds, give me some whole. Qiao Yun naturally doesn't understand these things, so since she wants to buy them, she should buy them all. Okay, rich lady, are there so many you can move back? Zhao Liang sorted out a pile according to Qiao Yun's request and placed it on the table. Qiao Yun looked at the seeds, they all looked different, but she couldn't recognize any of them. You put the label on me first. Zhao Liang followed suit and turned around to take a label paper from the drawer of the cashier to start working. After finishing, you and I will move back together and teach me how to do it. Qiao Yun took out her phone and skillfully unlocked it, opening a certain car-hailing app. Zhao Liang works very efficiently, and in just a few clicks, he puts the labels on and puts these scattered seeds into a large box, which is sealed with transparent glue. Okay. Zhao Liang looked up and shouted to the attic, "Grandma, come down and take a look at the store. I'll go deliver the goods." After speaking, they walked out the door with Qiao Yun. The car was driving all the way, and Zhao Liang was not idle either. He murmured, "Qiao, why are you buying so many seeds?" Qiao Yun was too lazy to pay attention to him and flipped through the logistics information of the furniture ordered last night on her phone. She casually replied, "Hobbies." Zhao Liang has thick skin and is not afraid of embarrassment. After all, he is the head of a class, so it is only natural for him to care about his classmates. So he tirelessly continued to ask. "Sister Qiao, you're not a survival enthusiast, are you?" Qiao Yun certainly doesn't have such a strong interest. If it weren't for the impending end of the world, she wouldn't be interested in running around every day, and wouldn't it be nice to watch TV shows at home with the air conditioning on? The journey was smooth and unobstructed, and in just over half an hour, the two of them successfully arrived at the suburban villa. "I'll go." "Miss Qiao, is this your house?" Zhao Liang got off the car and was even more shocked when he saw the luxurious double-decker villa. Qiao Yun is not deeply bound by her classmates and belongs to the type of silence in the class. Usually, she only communicates with Cen Gui and Qin Mian, so the classmates in the class only know about her. She is a woman, beautiful, and has a partner. Qiao Yun did not answer, but took Zhao Liang straight to the garden behind the villa. "I want to plant here," Qiao Yun pointed to an open space in front of her. Tong Tianhui has taken good care of this place. Although he has not lived here for a long time, the weeds in the garden have not grown wild, but have been carefully taken care of. Zhao Liang squatted down and loosened the soil with his hands, then his eyes lit up and he said, "Sister Qiao, this land is perfect for growing things. It's a great place to sow, you actually understand these things." Zhao Liang's reaction caught Qiao Yun's eye. "Of course, my grandparents play around all day, so I naturally know how to do it too." Zhao Liang stood up and patted his chest with a proud expression on his face. Zhao Liang's planting skills are indeed impressive, but his unreliable appearance requires further investigation into whether he should be recruited into the team. Qiao Yun thought to herself. "How about hiring you to take care of me?" Qiao Yun pointed to the large box next to it with seeds and hooked her chin at Zhao Liang. Zhao Liang scratched his head and muttered in a low voice, Okay. It's just that it's too far from my store." "That's right, it takes over half an hour for a one-way trip, and it's a bit troublesome to go back and forth every day without waiting for a red light. On second thought, it would be a good thing if the survival team had a member with planting skills, and settling in would fully achieve sustainable development." But Zhao Liang is not familiar with Qiao Yun, nor is he clear about his style of conduct. Leaving behind recklessly is not a wise move. Qiao Yun hugged her arms and pondered. Seeing Qiao Yun lost in thought and didn't want to answer, Zhao Liang picked up a branch from the side, and the cat crouched in the garden, dividing the area. This area is planted with corn, with a large amount of corn that ripens slowly and does not require too much area. "This is a potato," Zhao Liang muttered to himself while working. Zhao Liang's every move caught Qiao Yun's eye, and doing things in an organized and planned manner can be considered as meeting the basic standards of a small team in her mind. Move over. Qiao Yun opened her lips and uttered 2 words, her eyes fixed on the person. Zhao Liang was surprised again and stood still in the same place. I'm fine, it's just that my grandmother is old and I have to take care of her, he said. Zhao Liang's parents work in East City, and currently they are huddled in the attic of the store with their grandmother. They are really moved by Qiao Yun's proposal to live in a villa and take care of her garden. Who doesn't want to live in a good place? But based on the inconvenience of my grandmother's legs and feet at home, I think it's better to politely refuse. Qiao Yun thought to herself that if an elderly person were added, the team's movements would always be somewhat inconvenient. But the food-related issues can be solved, and the problem of not being able to cook for oneself and Cen Gui can also be solved. Eating hot dishes and rice every day is also a good thing. If the old lady is left alone at home, whether the zombies can survive once they explode is a question. Being able to pull up one is one. Everyone moved in, don't worry about food and accommodation, I'll take care of it. The premise is that you have to take care of the garden. At this moment, Zhao Liang only feels like he has picked up a big bargain. Can such a good thing happen to him? Being taken care of by a wealthy woman and reaching the pinnacle of life is no longer a dream. Okay, you said it. How do you calculate the wages? In the apocalypse, it's not a problem to reduce the price to money, and Qiao Yun is not clear about the market price. What if people don't like it if it's lower? You can set the salary. Pack it up tomorrow and move in. Zhao Liang was stunned by Qiao Yun's words. He had seen someone rich, but never such a rich person. I'll go back and discuss with my milk, and I'll call you tonight. After seeing off Zhao Liang, the courier phone immediately called. The household appliances that were ordered last night have arrived at the door. Qiao Yun ran all the way to the gate and paid the workers to install them. Qiao Yun followed behind the workers and sighed at the convenience of online shopping nowadays. As long as the next order is placed, the workers can come directly to install and clean it, which is simply a lazy blessing. After about 4 hours, the basic electrical appliances have been installed. Water heater, fan, bed, etc. After seeing off the workers, Qiao Yun looked at the bedroom filled with furniture and felt a sense of accomplishment in her heart. It's time to check in. As for the luggage to be packed, Qiao Yun did not intend to bring all the things from her original home, as there were too many scattered items to pack. In the future, leaving the shelter should also be abandoned. It's better not to bring it. Nowadays, purchasing enough laundry and daily necessities is enough. Why not take action now? Qiao Yun took a taxi to the downtown mall. Entering a clothing store and facing a passionate sales pitch from a salesperson, Qiao Yun only felt a pain in her ears and a headache. She was most afraid of the salesperson chattering incessantly in her ear, but Qiao Yun ignored it and chose a few lightweight sets and sneakers based on her own ideas. Autumn is coming soon, and the temperature of the apocalypse is unpredictable. Adequate warm clothing should also be prepared. I bought a bunch of blankets and warm baby clothes, enough cotton socks and close-fitting clothing. The salesperson saw that this big customer was generous and provided Qiao Yun with door-to-door delivery service. After a simple thank you, Qiao Yun went straight to the supermarket. Strolling leisurely to the daily necessities area, Qiao Yun without hesitation stuffed all the sanitary napkins on the shelf into the shopping cart. In the post-apocalyptic era, sanitary napkins were a scarce product, and she didn't want to use cotton cloth to wrap them during her menstrual period like ancient people did. There is also toilet paper. There are too many things to buy, and the shopping cart is already full. Qiao Yun only hates that she has not awakened the space ability now. Seeing that the shopping cart was already full, this purchase had to be temporarily terminated. After settling the bill, carrying the big and small bags, I boarded the ride-hailing car and returned to the villa. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Yangchun Noodles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Yangchun Noodles. It was already late evening when Qiao Yun returned to the villa. The hot summer breeze brushed her face, and the chirping of insects and the chatter of the elderly were very pleasant. Carry the big and small bags to the door. The clothes purchased in the clothing area have arrived and are now placed in front of the door. After organizing all the daily necessities into the basement and categorizing them, Qiao Yun felt a sore back and waist. It's really not good without some physical strength. Qiao Yun casually ordered takeout and then went upstairs to take a shower and rest. The next day, Qiao Yun was awakened by a knock on the door. She rubbed her closed eyes and went downstairs in a daze to open the door. Standing in front of him was Zhao Liang, who was smiling. Looking behind him in the car, there was still an elderly man with gray hair sitting. Have you decided? Qiao Yun nodded and smiled at Zhao Liang, walked to the front of the car to open the car door for the elderly person. Grandma, get off the car slowly. The old man's name is Nan Sume. In the past, some small money in the family received a good education, so much so that even in their 50s, they still have the fragrance of books. Dressed in a plain cotton and linen long dress, with a wooden hairpin tucked behind her head and a gold-framed reading glasses, she still looked like a charming young lady in her 50s. Nan Sume got off the car and didn't feel surprised when she saw Qiao Yun's double-decker villa. Instead, she looked up and down at Qiao Yun seriously. The girl is really beautiful. Nan Sume lightly patted Qiao Yun's hand and her eyes curved into a slit. I need you to take care of me more in the future. Zhao Liang has a black face now, and the old lady who had a big argument with him last night has actually changed her face when she sees someone. How could Nan Sume, who used to be considered a young lady, be willing to rely on others? But Zhao Liang insisted on being stubborn and spoiled, and had no choice but to agree. It's nothing. Inviting Zhao Liang is also to take care of the backyard. We are a win-win situation, Qiao Yun said, holding Nan Sume's hand and chuckling lightly. Not chatting too much at the door, Qiao Yun helped Zhao Liang move his luggage to the guest bedroom on the second floor. After all, there are differences between men and women. Qiao Yun arranged Nan Sume in the guest room next to the master bedroom, while Zhao Liang stayed in another guest room. Considering the issue of the number of personnel in the team in the future, it may be necessary to replace the large bed in each bedroom with a single bed in the coming days, which can accommodate more people. Nan Sume is not someone who likes to go for free. She packed her luggage and went to the kitchen to make lunch for everyone. Opening the empty refrigerator, I was stunned for a moment, thinking about how this little girl usually survived. There was nothing in the refrigerator, and eating takeout alone was not healthy. I informed Qiao Yun and planned to take a stroll to a nearby market to buy some groceries. Qiao Yun naturally wouldn't let Nan Sume pay out of her own pocket, so she decided to go to the market with the three of them to buy ingredients and also store some rice in the basement. There is a small vegetable market about 800 meters away nearby, but the morning market time has already passed, and the vendors have collected their stalls early and returned home, leaving only a few shops open. Entering a rice shop, the owner was a half-bald old man, and Nan Sume was passionately bargaining with him. Qiao Yun and Zhao Liang stood with arms clasped in their arms, watching from the side. We've all bought so much, can you give us a cheaper price? Nan Sume pushed the golden reading glasses on her nose bridge, looking as if she was going to win. Sister, we all have small business, and I can't make much money from it. The boss rubbed his bald head with an uncompromising expression. If you don't know how to do business, we'll be repeat customers in the future. Just make it cheaper, I'll come often in the future. Nan Sume also hugged her arms. Qiao Yun couldn't bear to watch, so she opened her mouth first. Forget it, it's not that bad. I'll take all the rice and noodles in the store, including those from the back warehouse. Could the boss please deliver them to my door? The boss's eyes lit up instantly, and he didn't expect this to be a big customer. Unfortunately, he didn't agree to a cheaper deal before, which resulted in the loss of such a wealthy boss. Hey, come on. The boss smiled and bowed, picked up a pen and paper, and began to calculate the price. After a moment, he respectfully took a payment code from the cashier and handed it to Qiao Yun with both hands. "Just scan here, I'll personally pull it for you later," he said. Nan Sume shook her head helplessly, thinking that this silly girl is just a person with a lot of silly money. She still needs to save, and money is not brought by strong winds. How could she be so extravagant? It's not easy to say anything even under the influence of others, so I have to follow them and continue strolling around the market. The market was strolled from beginning to end by 3 people, each carrying a few bags and finally returning with a full load. On the way back, I happened to meet the owner of a rice shop and picked up Qiao Yun on the way. The boss is also not willing to give up and cannot bear to let go of this big customer. He kindly suggested helping to move the goods into the house. Qiao Yun naturally didn't want to do these tasks on her own, and she agreed accordingly. After about 10 minutes, Nan Sume looked at the crowded refrigerator and was very satisfied. Finally, she had the appearance of a home. I rolled up my sleeves to show off my skills to Qiao Yun. Qiao Yun feels tired of eating too much takeout, and occasionally eating some home-cooked dishes is also excellent. She actively helps Nan Sume. Not long after, the steaming Yangchun noodles were served to the table. Qiao Yun smelled the fragrant and excellent-looking noodles, and her appetite instantly opened up. She didn't care if it was freshly cooked noodles, so she picked up a chopstick and put it in her mouth. As expected, Qiao Yun was so hot that she spat out her tongue and rushed to get a glass of water, taking a sip. "Eat slowly, there's still something in the pot," Nan Sume couldn't help but laugh as she looked at the child in front of her who had been scalded. Zhao Liang wolfed down the noodles and looked up at Qiao Yun, who was gulping water. "My grandmother's cooking is a masterpiece. Qiao, you will be blessed in the future." The taste of Yangchun noodles is naturally not as good as that of restaurants outside, but this simple taste makes Qiao Yun feel warm in her heart. She has not eaten food cooked by someone else's hand for a long time. After eating hot food, Zhao Liang couldn't help but feel drowsy. After finishing his meal, he sat on the sofa feeling drowsy. Qiao Yun walked behind him and gave him a hand knife, which frightened Zhao Liang. "It's time to finish eating and rest for a while. I have something to do this afternoon and I'll leave the backyard to you." Qiao Yun stood behind Zhao Liang, holding her arms and looking down from a high position. Nan Sume was washing dishes in the kitchen and leaned her head out. "Qiao Yun, why don't you go out now? It's better to take a break when you've just had enough to eat." "It's okay, when I go out for a walk, I'll just treat it as a snack." Qiao Yun looked up and smiled at Nan Sume in the kitchen, then opened the door and went out. The purpose of this trip is to choose a suitable RV. Yes, RV. RV is the most powerful mobile fortress in the mid-apocalyptic period, with which long-distance migration can be achieved without considering food and accommodation issues. There is still some time until the end of the world. First, buy the RV and then hire someone to modify it. Qiao Yun has already done her homework, and her first choice is a super RV that is about 10 m long, 3.5 m wide, and 4 m high, equipped with a glass roof. The RV has 2 floors inside, the first floor is for living and storage, and the second floor is for rest. Capable of accommodating 5.6 people while ensuring comfort. With its large weight, it can easily break through ordinary zombie groups. If it is carefully modified, it is a safe and effective weapon. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. RV. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. RV. Qiao Yun went to her mother's friend's shop this time. This young man is an outdoor survival enthusiast, and he also owns 2 RVs himself. Finding him is quite reliable. Uncle Lin. Qiao Yun saw Lin Pingchuan standing in front of the store in a suit and leather shoes as soon as she got off the car. It seems that this person has been waiting for a long time, but Qiao Yun made a direct appeal and said, "I want to buy a motorhome. Can you transfer it to the top of the ark, Uncle Lin?" Upon hearing Qiao Yun's request, Lin Pingchuan was momentarily stunned. He had never heard from Qiao Hong that her precious daughter still had this hobby. But he calmly replied, yes, but not in the lobby. It's too large to be displayed. Lin Pingchuan bowed gentlemanly and asked Qiao Yun to go to the underground floor of the store. Qiao Yun nodded and followed. In fact, she is also very curious about what this ark looks like. She has only seen pictures online and cannot fully feel the scale of this RV. As the elevator slowly descended, Qiao Yun and her companions had reached the basement level, and when the elevator door opened, a huge object came into view. Qiao Yun was so surprised that she couldn't close her mouth. This car is 4 meters tall, with an additional 3 meters on the first floor, indicating the size of this RV. Lin Pingchuan opened the car door and invited Qiao Yun to come and visit. Unlike traditional RVs, the view inside is still open. The spacious and bright driver's cab is conveniently located in the living room and dining area, with a leather-upholstered sofa and a small square table, and a water dispenser beside it. The bottom of the sofa is designed in a drawer style to meet storage needs. The kitchen is located in the middle of the RV, with a dual sink and stove to meet daily needs. There is also a dishwasher hidden underneath, and a small refrigerator placed on the countertop. The bathroom and toilet are located in the middle and rear area of the RV, with the bathroom divided into 2 rooms and equipped with smart toilets and glass shower rooms. At the very end of the RV is a large storage space, and in the open area, shelves or boxes can be added as needed for storage. A folding ladder can be pulled down from the storage area ceiling to access the second floor rest area. The second floor is equipped with 6 single beds, similar to a factory-wide bunk, and the activity space is also very objective, allowing for free walking on the second floor. The top floor is also designed with a climbing ladder, and the activity area on the top floor is only half the size of the RV. The front roof is filled with rows of solar panels. The top activity area is protected by explosion-proof glass, providing excellent safety. Qiao Yun visited from bottom to top and expressed great satisfaction. She hardly needed any modifications and could go directly to the battlefield. I think it's good, Qiao Yun nodded. Let's divide it into installments. Due to the high price of this RV, there are still many areas to spend money on, and there are also many scattered expenses. It's better to pay in installments, after all, who will still care about this matter after the end of the world? May I ask, why did Miss Qiao buy this car? Lin Pingchuan used to have a close relationship with Qiao Hong, and it was normal for her to care more about her daughter. Qiao Yun doesn't want to say much, she hasn't really liked this uncle since before. Every time I see Lin Pingchuan, he looks at Qiao Yun with an expression of watching prey, which is very uncomfortable. Suddenly had a strange idea. Qiao Yun looked at Lin Pingchuan with a stern expression, sign, I'll pay, and then I'll pick up the car. Qiao Yun doesn't want to communicate more with this person, she just wants to quickly pick up the car and drive home. These are not urgent, how about having a meal together after completing the procedures? Since your mother passed away, we rarely see you, so let's just reminisce about the past. Lin Pingchuan pushed the glasses on his nose bridge and half squinted his eyes, saying. Qiao Yun felt uneasy and said, I have something else to do. I can't be with you anymore. Lin Pingchuan did not give up the invitation due to Qiao Yun's refusal, but instead assumed a parental attitude and began to educate. I don't need to say much about your mother's relationship with me before she passed away. It's reasonable for me to take care of you more. Qiao Yun felt a wave of nausea in her heart. Is this taking care of her? She's afraid she'll have to take care of her in bed in the future. Thank you for Uncle Lin's kindness. I am already an adult. I can take care of myself. After finishing speaking, Qiao Yun turned and walked towards the elevator, pressing the first floor button. Before Lin Pingchuan could squeeze into the elevator, she pressed the door close button. Qiao Yun found a popular salesperson in the lobby, explained the situation to him, and wanted to sign. Unexpectedly, the salesperson did not have the authority to sign a purchase contract for that luxury RV. Qiao Yun had to walk towards Lin Pingchuan, who had just returned to the first floor with a dark face. "Excuse me, Uncle Lin." Qiao Yun raised a sincere smile without a clear conscience. "Let's have a meal together after signing the contract," Lin Pingchuan said with a playful smile on his lips. "I can't bear to let go of my child, but I can't keep a wolf. It's just a meal, and nothing will happen. Buying a car is the top priority." Qiao Yun nodded and followed Lin Pingchuan into his exclusive office. After completing a set of procedures, Qiao Yun's card instantly spent a huge sum of money. Looking at the consumption records and text messages received on her phone, Qiao Yun only felt a pain in her flesh. She had never spent so much money at once since childhood. Lin Pingchuan handed the key to Qiao Yun, and as she took it, she also casually touched it. Qiao Yun felt goosebumps suddenly rise. How could there be such a greasy person? Although she has a beautiful appearance and a lot of gold, she doesn't have any women, but she is interested in herself. Qiao Yun was calculating in her heart how to escape the dinner party for a while when Lin Pingchuan stood up and reached out to her. "Let's go, Miss Qiao. Pick up the car." Qiao Yun didn't catch Lin Pingchuan's hand, stood up straight, tidied up her clothes, and followed her to the underground floor. Qiao Yun opened the door of the RV with the key and sat down in the driver's cab, adjusting the distance between the seats. Lin Pingchuan sat in the passenger seat without any courtesy and smiled at Qiao Yun from the side. "Would you like to drive home first, or should I ask someone to help you drive back?" Qiao Yun came up with a clever plan. "If it's not safe to eat outside, why not take it home to eat the food made by Nan Sume? It's safer with more people. Let me drive back. By the way, I'll have a meal at my house." Qiao Yun inserted the key into the lock and started the engine. Lin Pingchuan did not show much joy, but nodded slightly in agreement. This behemoth drove along the streets of the city center, in stark contrast to the small cars waiting at the traffic lights on the side. Although the appearance is low-key black, it does not hinder its cool appearance, and the top glass cover also reflects sunlight, which is very eye-catching. Many people turned around to look around and saw that there was actually a young girl sitting in the driver's cab, while the passenger seat was a refined middle-aged man. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. Having money is really good, it would be even better to be close to a wealthy woman. Silent all the way until Qiao Yun parked the RV in the front yard of the double-decker villa. Lin Pingchuan couldn't help but wonder and finally asked, "Miss Qiao, is this a move? Change the flavor." Qiao Yun got off the car without any intention of waiting for Lin Pingchuan. She left a door for him and went ahead on her own. Lin Pingchuan shook his head and followed closely into the room. "Grandma, I brought a guest back for dinner." Qiao Yun greeted Nan Sume as she sat on the sofa, looking at the newspaper she had bought from somewhere. Upon hearing this, Nan Sume looked up and saw the gentleman following behind Qiao Yun, saying in a warm voice, "Okay, then I'll show you something tonight." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Virus Planet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Virus Planet. Nan Sume simply made 4 dishes and 1 soup, and everyone seemed to notice the subtle atmosphere between Qiao Yun and Lin Pingchuan. They remained silent during dinner. Lin Pingchuan may have felt embarrassed, so he said hello after dinner and retreated. He never bothered Qiao Yun again. In the following days, Qiao Yun will maintain a daily routine of villa and gym. It was not until Cen Gui moved into the villa that the two began to work together to arrange for the equipment improvement of the shelter. There is still half a month until the end of the world, and the external protection of the villa is almost complete. The seeds planted by Zhao Liang in the garden also sprouted in pairs and grew quite well. The low fence in the backyard was also dismantled by Qiao Yun and replaced with a 3-meter high iron plate. Zhao Liang expressed great confusion about this, as replacing the fence with incompatible iron plates was not aesthetically pleasing. But due to the fact that food, drink, and accommodation are all occupied by people, it's not easy to say anything. Qiao Yun did not choose to remove the glass ceiling on the roof, but simply cleaned the flower racks and pots on the top floor and replaced them with solar panels. Zhao Liang and Nan Sume didn't mind either, they just thought it was a pastime for wealthy people. This double-decker villa has undergone earth-shattering changes, with the original glass windows added with iron protective nets and even expensive wooden doors replaced with heavy iron doors. The surrounding walls are wrapped in iron plates, forming a sharp contrast with other houses around them. So much so that once Tong Tianhui passed by, he didn't recognize this as his once warm little home, and couldn't suppress his anger as he knocked on the iron door. Cen Gui, who was holding a toothbrush and opening the door, couldn't stop anyone from coming aggressively. Tong Tianhui sat on the living room sofa, shouting to see Qiao Yun. Although the two of them hit it off at once when renting the house, and there was no indication in the contract that it was not allowed to change the house, he could accept minor changes. Now, his memories with his wife have been transformed into a completely different appearance by this inexperienced little girl, naturally burning with anger. Cen Gui immediately sent a message to Qiao Yun, who was sleeping upstairs and returning to her cage. Qiao Yun said let him go. Tong Tianhui waited in the living room for a whole morning without waiting for Qiao Yun, so he left with a harsh word. In the following days, Qiao Yun took Cen Gui to the gym for physical training, during which she met Tong Tianhui several times. Tong Tianhui was busy teaching the students and didn't notice that Qiao Yun was also in the gym. After a period of physical training, Qiao Yun's physical fitness has greatly improved, at least not to the point of running 1,000 meters and dying. The basement of the villa is also packed to the brim, with many iron shelves placed on the first floor, filled with daily necessities and miscellaneous items. And the underground second floor has become a small ice storage, with 10 refrigerators filled with meat products and fast food. Time flies by so fast, it's now 1:45 a.m. on June 29, 2027, and there are still 11 hours left until the end of the world. Qiao Yun gathered everyone in the living room with a heavy heart and solemnly stated that she wanted to have a small meeting. Yesterday, I saw the weather forecast and said that it would be heavy rainstorm today. Grandma, don't go out today, and you don't need to take care of Zhao Liang in the garden for the time being. Nan Sume doesn't understand why she didn't receive the news that it is going to rainstorm today. But after getting along with her recently, she feels that Qiao Yun, a little girl, is kind-hearted though she sometimes does things that are difficult to understand. And Zhao Liang's face was filled with joy. Today, he could finally spend a whole day in the bedroom, working in the garden and getting tanned. After giving a simple command, Qiao Yun and Cen Gui thoroughly inspected the villa to see if there were any shortcomings. The behemoth parked in the front yard of the villa has also been modified by Qiao Yun to become more complete, with an enlarged fuel tank. Some daily necessities and food have also been stocked in the end storage area. After everything was ready, the two locked all the accessible doors of the villa and returned to the bedroom. Due to having only 3 bedrooms, Cen Gui and Qiao Yun sleep in the same bedroom. Qiao Yun sat on the bed, looking up quietly at the clock hanging on the wall, with a thoughtful expression. What are you thinking? Cen Gui sat down next to Qiao Yun and gently patted her back with his arm raised. Qiao Yun regained her senses and lowered her head. After a while, she finally held back a sentence, although everything is ready, I am still worried about whether I can protect everyone. Cen Gui took a deep breath and leaned closer to Qiao Yun's forehead. Now is not the time to feel sad. The most important thing is to rest well. The end of the world you mentioned, the zombie outbreak, is right in front of you. Adjust your mentality, I am still waiting for you to protect me. Qiao Yun closed her eyes and lay back on the soft goose-down quilt. She turned over and pulled a pillow to bury her face inside. You're right, I shouldn't have this kind of emotion at this time. Everyone is still waiting for me to protect them, she said. Cen Gui didn't answer, so he lay down and patted her back with one hand, just like a mother coaxing a young child to sleep. Qiao Yun felt heavy and fell asleep soundly. It wasn't until dinner time that I was awakened by Cen Gui's knocking on the door. Looking up at the clock, it was already 6:30 p.m. in the evening. Qiao Yun walked into the bathroom barefoot, feeling the cold tap water coming into contact with her skin, which instantly made her wake up. Looking at herself in the mirror, she felt an indescribable feeling in her heart. Adjust your mood and go downstairs to have dinner with everyone. Nan Sume heard that Cen Gui said that Qiao Yun was in a bad mood today, so she made her favorite sauce duck and lychee meat, and the soup was light and delicious clam soup. 4 people sat around the dining table enjoying this last leisurely meal. It has to be said that Nan Sume's craftsmanship is really good. The sauce duck is processed fat but not greasy, and the sauce is salty and fragrant. The lychee meat is sour, sweet, and delicious, which is especially good for rice. Paired with stir-fried water spinach, Qiao Yun's appetite is wide open, and she even added a bowl of rice. After finishing his meal, Zhao Liang felt drowsy and put down his chopsticks before sliding upstairs to sleep soundly. Only Nan Sume and Qiao Yun Cen Gui were left to wash dishes together in the kitchen. After washing the dishes, Qiao Yun urged Nan Sume to go upstairs to rest, while she and Cen Gui sat quietly on the sofa waiting for the next day's arrival. Perhaps due to the tense nerves, time passes exceptionally slowly. It is 11:28 p.m. at this moment, and a red light is shining in the sky. The entire city is shrouded in a red mist, and a planet carrying a virus is now crashing onto an island adjacent to Dragon Kingdom. Qiao Yun looked out the window at the gradually turning red sky and was startled. Isn't it still time? Why did it come early? Also, at this time in my previous life, I was whispering to Qin Mian in bed. If it weren't for the hotel staff who had already been infected outside knocking on the door, I would still be in the dark. At the time of the zombie attack, it was around 12 o'clock in the morning on June 30th, and a natural stereotype would suggest that the planetary impact on Blue Star occurred on June 30th. But these are not important anymore, this time she has made sufficient preparations. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Coma. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Coma. Planets carrying viruses that collide with blue stars will spread the virus in the air. The city of H, which is closest to the island where the planet crashed, is naturally the first to suffer. Most people have immunity to this virus, while a few unlucky individuals will fall into a coma within an hour after being hit, and when they wake up again, they will completely lose their mind and become bloodthirsty zombies. But there are also very few people who wake up unscathed after being infected, because the cells in their bodies react with the virus to stimulate human potential, which is the origin of the superpower. The ability is divided into multiple attributes and directions, and there are many elemental abilities, such as gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, and wind. These elemental abilities can mutate into other attributes in the later stage, such as water system mutating into ice. Or it can be a combination of dual abilities, and the combination of water and fire can use steam. In addition to elemental abilities, there are also some people who can gain physical reinforcement, auditory and visual abilities, as well as strength and speed. But there are also very rare mutated abilities in combat, such as those who were a food enthusiast before infection, and after infection, their taste buds will become very picky. For now, the process of acquiring abilities is called evolution, and current human science cannot explain the reasons for acquiring abilities. It can be considered that God closed the door, but opened another window. Qiao Yun developed a water system ability on the first day of a planetary impact on Earth in her previous life, which means she is about to fall into a coma. Before losing consciousness, it is necessary to calm the emotions of Nan Sume and Zhao Liang, in order to prevent Cen Gui from being unable to stabilize these two uncertain factors alone when she is unconscious. Before Qiao Yun could go upstairs, Zhao Liang quickly helped Nan Sume down and collided with Qiao Yun. Qiao Jie, what's going on outside? Why is the sky so red? Zhao Liang brushed his phone, his face gradually turning pale. I saw what was said on Weibo. What does a collective coma incident mean? Qiao Yun snatched her phone and flipped through it. The terms, collective coma, red sky, malignant injury incident, and zombie, occupied the headlines on Weibo. We can't know what happened yet. Don't act rashly. The door is already locked. Zhao Liang, you and your grandmother don't go out yet. I'll go upstairs first to see if I can contact someone to ask. After Qiao Yun made a simple arrangement, she immediately returned to the bedroom. What she was most worried about now was whether something would happen to Nan Sume and Zhao Liang during her coma. Lying on the soft goose-down quilt, her head was getting heavier and her body was gradually getting hotter. This feeling was so familiar to Qiao Yun that she flipped her eyes and fell asleep. Before losing consciousness, she heard a shout from Zhao Liang. As for what he said, Qiao Yun could no longer remember. As Qiao Yun went upstairs, Cen Gui felt like he was about to float up, feeling uncomfortable with his body changing from cold to hot. A layer of white mist covered his eyes, and he forced himself to touch the sofa and sit down. As soon as his butt touched the sofa, he fell asleep like Qiao Yun. At this moment, Zhao Liang looked bewildered. Isn't this the same as the symptoms on Weibo? The Weibo entry said that when a person wakes up again after being unconscious, they will start attacking humans indiscriminately. No matter how he shouted at Qiao Yun or knocked on the door of the master bedroom, he did not receive a response from Qiao Yun. Can only let Nan Sume sit at the dining table far away from the living room first, while she casually found a mop and sat on the small sofa staring at the sleeping Cen Gui. Cen Gui's entire body began to turn red, and Zhao Liang apologized to Cen Gui in his heart before reaching out to touch her forehead. At the moment he touched his forehead, he was so hot that he withdrew his hand. Why is it so hot, won't it burn to death? Zhao Liang murmured to himself. Open the door. Open the door. Zhao Liang was startled by the loud shouting outside the house. He lifted the curtains and looked at Tong Tianhui, who had come to the villa a while ago. Zhao Liang, who is that? Nan Sume walked over from the restaurant and looked out with Zhao Liang's gaze. Zhao Liang scratched his head and said, it's the man who came to see Qiao Jie last time. Tong Tianhui outside saw Zhao Liang and Nan Sume standing in the living room and shouted even louder, hey! Open the door for me. I'm not injured, nor have I become a monster. In fact, Tong Tianhui passed by this time and thought that Qiao Yun couldn't be at home at this point. He wanted to try his luck and ask Qiao Yun for an explanation. But now I look up at the terrifying red sky, explosive news on Weibo, and a group of cannibalistic monsters I saw on the way here. Tong Tianhui seems to understand something. Qiao Yun, this woman, must know something. Starting renting villas a month in advance and even transforming them into this kind of appearance is simply preparation for the current world. And now I'm afraid I won't be able to go back, so why not follow this hidden woman and have some chance to survive? Zhao Liang did make a mistake after hearing these words. He has also been continuously following Weibo messages and seeing videos posted by netizens. People who have had their stomachs bitten and their intestines hanging out can still stand up and continue to move. Isn't this the plot of a zombie movie? Qiao Yun also instructed not to open the door casually, and now it's unclear whether Tong Tianhui is injured. Opening the door recklessly may harm everyone. Turning her head, she looked at Cen Gui, who was still sleeping on the sofa. Her forehead was already covered in sweat, and her mouth was groaning in pain. Zhao Liang was struggling, completely oblivious to Nan Sume who had taken the initiative to open the door. It wasn't until the sound of the iron door opening reached his ears that he regained consciousness. Grandma, don't open the door. Zhao Liang rushed to the door, wanting to close it. Nan Sume patted Zhao Liang's shoulder and said, I'm not that confused. The young man outside can't get in either. I just opened the door to see if he's injured. By the light of the room, Zhao Liang also saw clearly the current state of Tong Tianhui, only sweating a lot, and there seemed to be no obvious wounds on his body. Grandma, go back first. Cen Gui is still lying on the sofa. Zhao Liang pushed Nan Sume into the room and handed her the mop. If Cen Gui has any questions, don't hesitate. I'll go see how the person outside is doing. Nan Sume took the mop and returned to the living room, sitting next to Cen Gui. She drew a piece of paper to wipe the sweat off her forehead. Zhao Liang walked to the big iron gate, turned on his phone and flashlight, and cautiously looked up and down at Tong Tianhui. Turn around and let me take a look. Tong Tianhui turned around in cooperation and said, do you want me to take off my shirt and show you? After that, he simply took off his shirt, held it in his hand, and turned around to face Zhao Liang. Zhao Liang dared not shift his gaze half an inch away, afraid of missing any suspicious wound. Seeing that Tong Tianhui was not injured, he had a better attitude and said, come in. After finishing speaking, Zhao Liang opened the outer door of the villa, let Tong Tianhui in, and quickly closed the iron door and locked it. Tong Tianhui saw Cen Gui unconscious on the sofa and was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. He pointed at Cen Gui and shouted, isn't this symptom the same as what was said online? How dare you keep her? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Awakening. Tong Tianhui's roar echoed in the quiet living room, and Nan Sume and Zhao Liang naturally understood in their hearts that coma was a precursor to mutation. Moreover, with Cen Gui's skin turning red and her body temperature unusually high at this time, it is difficult not to be afraid that she will wake up and become those bloodthirsty monsters. Nan Sume and Zhao Liang didn't know what to do at this critical moment. Qiao Yun couldn't even call out and didn't know what to do in the room. Tong Tianhui chose the farthest corner from Cen Gui and sat down, took out a cigarette from his pocket and lit it. You guys just leave it like this. At least tie it up, he said. Tie it up is a good way. Zhao Liang turned around and went up the second floor, bringing a clothesline with him when he came down. Zhao Liang walked up to Cen Gui, tightly gripping the clothesline in his hand, and murmured, I'm sorry, Cien. As Zhao Liang touched Cen Gui's arm, the person lying on the sofa opened their eyes and panted heavily, as if they had experienced a catastrophe. Watching Zhao Liang fidgeting with him, Cen Gui couldn't care if he was feeling dizzy now, so he tried his best to push him away. What are you doing? Cen Gui sat up with his hands propped up on the sofa. Due to getting up too quickly, his head was momentarily confused, and a circle of white mist covered his eyes. Zhao Liang was pushed back several steps by someone, and for some reason his face turned red. He awkwardly scratched his head and said, hey, this is a long story. After finishing speaking, Zhao Liang took out his phone and showed Cen Gui the most viewed video of a zombie attacking a human on Weibo. This powerful picture, like thunder, explodes in Cen Gui's brain, which is exactly the same as what Qiao Yun said. Right, what about Qiao Yun? Where is Qiao Yun? Is she okay? Cen Gui stood up and prepared to go up to the second floor. Qiao Yun is upstairs, I don't know what happened, but she locked the door. Nan Sume patted Cen Gui's shoulder and shook her head. Cen Gui suddenly understood that Qiao Yun was still unconscious at the moment. As she had said before, she should wake up soon. And was he also unconscious just now? If I didn't become a zombie, did I also awaken some abilities? Cen Gui thought to himself and reached out a hand, with his palm facing him, silently reciting in his heart, fire. Nothing happened. Water. Nothing happened. Cen Gui silently recited all the elemental powers in his heart, but nothing happened. Tong Tianhui witnessed everything on the side. Although he had seen it with his own eyes before, the unconscious person would wake up and turn into a zombie. Why did this girl have nothing to do? Cen Gui put down her hand in disappointment and sat on the sofa in confusion, reaching out for a cup to pour water. Just as she woke up from her coma, she felt her throat almost burning. The moment before touching the cup that was originally on the coffee table disappeared out of thin air. This strange event has caught everyone's attention. Qiao Yun squatted directly in front of the coffee table, his eyes fixed on the spot where the teacup was originally placed, as if he wanted to stare through the coffee table. Cen Gui is also foolish. What strange superpower is this to lose something? Isn't this too ridiculous? Cen Gui wanted to stand up and go to the kitchen to find some small objects to see if this superpower could take away everything, so he supported the sofa with both hands and wanted to stand up. At the moment when the palm touches the sofa, it also disappears out of thin air. Cen Gui fell to the ground, perhaps in pain from the fall, and just sat there dumbfounded. Help, what's going on here? Where did all the disappearing things go? Will it not enter any strange dimension space? Am I awakening my fourth-dimensional pocket? She thought about it this way, and suddenly a warehouse-sized space appeared in her mind, with the sofa and teacups lying quietly inside. How do I get these things out? Cen Gui spread out his palm and silently recited in his heart, teacup. The teacup that had disappeared immediately appeared in her palm. I'm going, so awesome. So if I say I want a sofa, will it also appear in my hand, so I must break my hand? Cen Gui thought this way, waving his palm towards the position where the sofa was originally placed, and the sofa appeared out of nowhere. Everyone present, including Cen Gui, was so shocked that they couldn't speak. Although Tong Tianhui looks expressionless, there is a lot of drama in his heart. As expected, he is not mistaken. Qiao Yun and this group of people are definitely not simple. It's so chaotic outside now. If I go out and fight alone, I'll definitely have received my boxed lunch early. Why don't I just lick my face and stay here, where I can survive every day? After a moment of silence, Qiao Yun spoke up first and said, Cen Gui, isn't this just like those apocalyptic supernatural novels? You are the perfect female lead. Although Cen Gui couldn't see any expression on his face, he had already praised himself from top to bottom before slowly speaking up, I flatter you. At this moment, Qiao Yun, who was in the bedroom, had just woken up. She reached out and took out a piece of paper to wipe the sweat off her forehead, stood up, and walked into the bathroom. The hand that was just about to turn on the faucet stopped. At this point, I have already awakened the water system ability, but this ability was too weak in the early stages of combat. If I want to play a role in protecting everyone, I still need to level up as soon as possible. The most important thing now is to proficiently use her abilities, so she spread out her hands to use them. A trickle of water gushed out of her palms, and Qiao Yun smiled with satisfaction. He washed his face with the water grass he summoned and hurriedly went downstairs. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw Nan Sume and Zhao Yang surrounding Cen Gui, while a familiar person sitting in the corner. Tong Tianhui. Cen Gui saw Qiao Yun coming down and happily walked forward to greet him, wake up. Qiao Yun's attention was completely focused on Tong Tianhui. How could this guy be here? Didn't he ask Zhao Yang not to open the door? Wake up. Why is he here? Didn't he say not to open the door? Qiao Yun raised her finger to Tong Tianhui, who was smoking in the corner, and looked at Zhao Yang again. Tong Tianhui quickly extinguished the smoke, walked forward and patted Zhao Yang's shoulder, then bowed lightly to Qiao Yun, it's not their fault, I forced myself to come in. Qiao Yun raised her eyebrows and glanced at Tong Tianhui, you came in from outside, and I think you are also aware of what happened. Accepting strangers at this time is not a wise behavior, let alone I cannot be sure if you are injured. Zhao Yang quickly interjected after hearing these words, don't worry, Sister Qiao. He's not injured. I've checked him. Qiao Yun was interrupted by Zhao Yang, feeling secretly unhappy. She retorted, I haven't pursued your decision to let someone in yet. Of course, Nan Sume couldn't bear to see her precious grandson choked. She calmly explained, "I was the one who wanted to let him in. Don't blame him either, just blame me, this old lady." Qiao Yun couldn't say much about the operation of Nan Sume carrying the blame herself, so she could only keep Tong Tianhui for now. "Then let's stay. Now everyone doesn't understand what's happening outside, so I hope everyone can listen to my command." Zhao Liang was puzzled. Although Qiao Jia is reliable, she listens to everything. He would rather listen to Cen Gui's command than rely on her ability to take things away and transform them. Unable to suppress his inner dissatisfaction, he was about to retort, "Why?" Of course, Qiao Yun noticed Zhao Liang's expression, so she took a water cup, spread out her palm, and used her powers. The water flowed into the cup through her palm, filling the entire cup. Zhao Liang was instantly slapped in the face, but couldn't hold back his face. "Cen Jia also has superpowers," he said. End of this chapter.